Stop for a moment. This is not something most people are ready to hear. You go through life thinking you already understand how the world works. You assume that if you stay honest, kind, and open, you will be respected. You expect that being a good person will keep you safe, that fairness is real, and that others will treat you the same way you treat them. But this belief is not just wrong, it is dangerous. It hides the real rules that quietly shape everything around you. Centuries ago, Niccolò Machiavelli understood this clearly, even when most people refused to see it. The truth is, there are forces guiding people's behavior that no one talks about openly. These forces decide who is respected, who is ignored, who rises, and who gets left behind. And the most unsettling part is this: these laws are already affecting your life whether you notice them or not. But one of these laws is already controlling your decisions without you realizing it, and by the end, you'll know exactly which one it is. And when you recognize it, you'll realize it's been shaping your choices for years. You don't get to choose if they apply to you. You only choose whether you stay blind to them or finally see them for what they are. Think about your last few interactions. Something probably felt off, but you ignored it. That feeling matters more than you think. If you keep living like most people, thinking effort and honesty will protect you, something shifts quietly. People start taking more while giving less, and the more available you are, the less you are valued. Look closely, and you'll see it everywhere. The one who is always there gets ignored. The one who always agrees carries the most, and the one who gives the most often receives the least. It feels unfair, but it isn't random. You taught people there was no cost to having you, and once that pattern is set, it becomes your normal. Today, you're about to hear 14 Machiavellian laws that shape how people think, act, and decide, and one of them explains why people lose respect without ever knowing why. Law 1. What you give too easily loses its power. The first law is simple, but most people ignore it. People start ignoring what is always easy to get. They pay attention to what feels rare. Centuries ago, Niccolò Machiavelli understood this value is never given. It is created by what you hold back. When something is easy to get, it starts to feel normal. And when it feels normal, it stops feeling important. This is how people begin to treat you the same way. If you are always ready, always replying fast, always saying yes, you slowly become expected instead of appreciated. Look at how people act when they have to earn something. They protect it, they respect it, they don't want to lose it. But when something is handed to them again and again, they stop thinking about its worth. The same thing happens with your time, your attention, and your energy. When you keep giving without stopping, things slowly change. But here's the part almost no one notices. You are not being kind. You are lowering your own value in their eyes. This does not mean you should become cold or distant. It means you choose when to give, not give everything all the time. When you hold back just enough, people start to notice your presence more. They pay attention. They think before taking you for granted. Because the truth is simple. What is always there is easy to forget. What is not always there is harder to ignore. And this is exactly where most people lose their position without ever realizing when it happened. Once you see this, you'll start noticing it in small things, replies, attention, even silence. Law 2. The power of holding back what you can do. Now understand this. Most people think they need to prove how capable they are all the time, but that usually works against them. When you show everything about yourself, people stop being curious. They measure you, compare you, and slowly begin to challenge you. But when you hold some of it back, something different happens. At first, it feels small, almost invisible, but the effect it creates is not small at all. People start to feel unsure. They don't fully understand how far you can go, and that uncertainty makes them more careful around you. Think about someone who speaks less, but always seems calm and in control. You pay more attention to them. You think twice before testing them. That is not because they showed everything, but because they didn't. Real strength stays quiet. It doesn't try to prove itself all the time. It stays steady and lets others notice it on their own. When you react to everything, argue over small things, or try to win every moment, you lower your position without realizing it. But when you choose your moments, when you stay quiet, when others expect noise, you create a different kind of pressure. People begin to watch you more closely. They start to think before they act around you. And that is where real control begins, not in showing power, but in letting others feel that there is more you are choosing not to show. You don't need to prove anything. The moment you stop trying, people start paying more attention. Machiavelli also saw that power is not in showing everything, but in what you choose to keep unseen. And this is where most people make a mistake, because what you don't say often matters more than what you do. Law 3. Control the distance, control the bond. Look at any relationship closely. Every connection has a balance, even if no one talks about it. In most relationships, one side always puts in more effort than the other. The other side feels more relaxed, more in control, and less afraid of losing the bond. Most people rush in without thinking. They share too much, respond too fast, and try too hard to show they care. It feels right in the moment, but it slowly shifts the balance against them. When you show everything too soon, there is nothing left to grow. The other person stops putting in effort because they don't have to. This is where distance matters. Not cold distance, not pushing people away, but measured space. You stay present, but not always available. You care, but you don't show all of it at once. When someone reaches out, you don't always rush to respond. When they expect a reaction, you stay calm. This creates a quiet tension. They start thinking about you more. They begin to wonder where they stand, and that wondering pulls them closer. The goal is not to make people feel bad, but to avoid giving away your position, because the one who holds back just a little always has more control than the one who gives everything away. And most people don't even realize when they lose that control. It happens slowly. Law 4. Be kind on the surface, but stay alert inside. The fourth law is about how you deal with people without losing awareness. Most people think a smile means honesty and kind words mean good intentions, but that is not always true. In fact, sometimes the opposite is true. People often act friendly because it helps them get closer, not because they truly mean it. A person can praise you and still compete with you. They can agree with you and still plan against you. If you trust every warm gesture, you make it easy for others to step ahead of you without resistance. This does not mean you should become cold or suspicious of everyone. It means you stay aware while staying calm. You treat people well, you speak kindly, but you do not reveal everything about yourself too quickly. You listen more than you share. You watch how people act over time instead of believing what they say in one moment. Patterns show the truth, not words. When you do this, you can move through situations without being caught off guard. Others may feel close to you, but they never fully know where they stand. That gives you space to think clearly and act wisely. Because in the end, it is not the loud enemy that causes the most trouble, but the one who smiles while hiding their real intent. If you've ever trusted someone too fast, you already understand this more than you think. And this is why the next law becomes necessary, not optional. Law 5. Set the line once, make it count. There comes a moment you cannot avoid. Sooner or later, Someone will test your limits. They will ignore your time, speak without respect, or try to see how far they can go. Most people respond the wrong way. They give small warnings, they explain too much, or they let it slide hoping it will stop. But it rarely does. In fact, it usually gets worse. When your response is weak or unclear, people learn that your limits can be pushed. They don't say it out loud, but they remember it. And once that idea settles in, it becomes hard to change. This is why your response must be clear and strong the first time. Not loud, not emotional, but firm and final. You don't argue. You don't go back and forth. You simply act in a way that shows the line is real. When you do this, people understand without needing more words. They see that crossing you comes with a cost, and most will not try again. But if you keep correcting the same behavior again and again, you are teaching them that nothing really happens. One strong response works better than many small reactions, because people may forget what you say, but they remember what it felt like to test you and be wrong. And once that feeling is there, they don't try the same thing again. And if you don't understand this next principle, you'll undo your own boundaries without noticing. Law 6. Let silence do the work. Not every situation needs your voice, and not every challenge deserves your response. Many people feel the need to explain themselves, to defend their name, or to prove they are right. But the more you try to explain, the more it looks like you are seeking approval. And once you fall into that, you lose your position without even noticing. People do not change their minds because you argue better. Most of the time, they just hold on tighter to what they already believe. So when you keep talking, you are only giving them more to push against. Staying quiet works in a different way, and most people underestimate just how powerful that difference is. When you choose not to react, it creates space. That silence makes others uneasy. They start to think more, speak more, and reveal more than they planned. You learn from that. You see how they think, what they want, and where they stand. At the same time, your calm makes you look steady and in control. You are not pulled into their emotions. You are not dragged into their noise, and that changes how they see you. It makes them adjust, even if they don't realize it. Because the person who stays calm while others lose control is the one who quietly holds the power in the room. Silence is uncomfortable, and that's exactly why it works. Machiavelli understood that silence shapes perception long after the moment has passed. Now, what happens next is something most people are not prepared for. Law 7. Build a name that speaks before you do. Before you even walk into a room, people often have an idea about you. That idea comes from what they have seen, what they have heard, and how you have acted over time. This is your reputation, and it works even when you are not there. And once it forms, it starts working for you or against you without asking. Many people try to control how others see them by talking more, explaining more, or trying to impress in the moment. But that does not last. What lasts is what you do again and again, especially when it matters. If you stay calm when others panic, people remember. If you act only when needed, people notice. If you keep your word, even when it is hard, people trust it. These small patterns build a strong image over time, and once that image is set, it starts doing the work for you. People treat you based on what they expect from you, not just what they see right now. That means fewer challenges, fewer doubts, and more respect without effort. But this only works if you stay consistent. One careless moment can weaken what took a long time to build. That is why discipline matters, because in the end, you don't tell people who you are. You show them, and they carry that image with them wherever they go. And if you think reputation is built only over time, the next law will challenge that idea. Law 8. Choose what benefits you, not what sounds right. This is where most people make the wrong decision, even when they think they're doing the right thing. There are moments when you have to decide what to do, and most people get stuck trying to choose what feels right, instead of what actually helps them. They worry about being seen as good, fair, or agreeable, even when it costs them something important. But the world does not reward you for looking right if the outcome leaves you weaker. Many rules people follow are not fixed truths. They change depending on the situation and who benefits from them. If you always follow what others expect, you end up living by their rules, not your own. This is where you have to shift your thinking. Instead of asking what sounds good, ask what actually helps you move ahead. Sometimes helping is the right move. Sometimes stepping back is smarter. Sometimes saying no protects your time and energy better than saying yes. The key is to look at the result, not just the feeling. This does not mean you become careless or hurt others without reason. It means you think clearly before you act. You understand that every choice has a cost, and you choose the one that strengthens your position, not the one that only makes you feel safe for a moment. And this next principle explains why even strong people lose control without realizing it. Law 9. Power exists when people believe it does. You don't need to prove power for it to work. In fact, the more you try to prove it, the less real it feels to others. Power is not only what you do, it is also what people believe you can do. When people believe you are strong, capable, and in control, they start to treat you that way without being told. They adjust how they speak, how they act, and how far they go around you. This belief spreads quietly. One person sees it, then another, and soon it becomes the normal way people respond to you. That is how influence grows without effort. But if you keep trying to show off, explain your value, or force respect, it has the opposite effect. It makes you look unsure, like you are trying to convince others, instead of simply being certain. Real presence feels calm and steady. You don't rush, you don't overreact, and you don't chase attention. You let your actions stay measured and your reactions controlled. Over time, people start to assume there is more behind you than what they see. And once that belief forms, it becomes your advantage. Because people don't just react to what is real, they react to what they think is real. Law 10. Needing approval will weaken you. It does not happen all at once, but it starts small. You begin to care about how people see you. You want them to like you, to agree with you, to stay close to you. At first, it feels normal, but slowly, it changes how you act. You start holding back your real thoughts. You adjust your behavior to keep others comfortable. You avoid saying no because you don't want to lose their approval. And without noticing, you begin to depend on it. This is where your strength fades. The more you try to be liked, the easier it is for others to control you. They don't even have to try. Your fear of losing their approval does the work for them. You become careful, predictable, and easy to influence. But when you stop needing that approval, everything shifts. You speak more clearly. You act without hesitation. You are no longer trying to please everyone, and that makes people take you more seriously. Some may not like it, but that does not matter. Because respect grows when you stand firm, not when you bend to fit others. In the end, the more you chase approval, the more you lose yourself. And once you lose that, everything else becomes harder to hold. Law 11. If you must cut ties, do it cleanly. There comes a point when holding on no longer makes sense. A person, a situation, or a connection stops moving in the same direction as you. Most people feel this, but they hesitate. They wait, they think, they hope things will somehow fix themselves. But that delay only makes things worse. The longer you stay in something that no longer works, the heavier it becomes. Tension builds, respect fades, and confusion grows on both sides. When you finally act, it is no longer simple. It turns messy and drawn out. That is why this law matters. When you know it is time to step away, you do it clearly and fully. No half decisions, no leaving things unfinished, no going back again. You make the decision and stand by it. This is not about being harsh, it is about being direct. A clean break allows both sides to move forward without confusion. But if you keep returning after stepping away, you create a cycle that weakens you. It shows uncertainty, and people begin to see that your decisions can be reversed. That makes it easier for them to pull you back again. In the end, it is better to make one clear move than many unsure ones. Because once you decide to leave, your strength is in not looking back. Law 12. Step away before you become predictable. At first, being present all the time feels like the right thing to do. You show up, you stay involved, you keep things steady. But over time, something changes. When people get used to you always being there, they stop noticing you the same way. Your presence becomes normal, and what is normal is easy to overlook. This is where predictability starts to weaken your position. When others can guess what you will do, how you will react, or when you will appear, they begin to adjust around you. They prepare, they plan, and your advantage slowly fades. That is why stepping away matters, not as an escape, but as a reset. When you remove yourself at the right time, people begin to feel the gap you leave behind. They think about you more. They question your next move. They start to value what is no longer always there. This creates space for your presence to regain weight. But timing is everything. If you wait too long, the impact is lost. If you leave too early without reason, it feels random. The key is to step away when people still want more, not after they have had enough. Because in the end, what is always there starts to feel normal and ignored. But what comes and goes with control is what people remember. Law 13. Never show how much you need anything. There is a quiet shift that happens the moment people sense you need something from them. It could be attention, approval, support, or even an outcome. The second that need becomes visible, your position changes. You are no longer choosing, you are depending. And when others feel that, they gain control without asking for it. Most people don't notice when they do this. It shows in small ways. Talking too much to convince someone, waiting too eagerly for a reply, adjusting yourself just to keep something from slipping away. These signals may seem harmless, but they tell others exactly where you stand. And once they see that, they begin to move differently around you. They take their time. They test your patience. They push limits just to see how far your need goes. This is why control starts with detachment. You can want something, but you cannot let it look like you need it. The less you rely on any one person or outcome, the steadier you become. You make clearer decisions. You stay calm under pressure. And people feel that. They sense that you are not easily pulled or influenced. That makes them respect your position more. Because in the end, the one who needs less always has more control than the one who cannot afford to lose. Law 14. Control the pace. Control the outcome. Most people rush without realizing it. They speak too quickly, decide too quickly, react too quickly. It feels like progress, but it often leads to mistakes. When you move fast all the time, you lose the chance to think clearly. Others can guide your reactions, push your decisions, and lead you where they want. But when you control the pace, everything changes. You slow things down when needed. You take a moment before you answer. You give yourself space before you act. This does not make you weak. It makes you harder to influence. People begin to adjust to your timing instead of forcing you into theirs. When someone tries to rush you and you stay calm, it creates pressure on them instead. They start to reveal more, say more than they planned, and sometimes make mistakes trying to speed things up. You, on the other hand, stay steady. You choose when to move and when to wait, and that gives you the advantage, because the person who controls the pace controls the direction. When you are not rushed, you see more. When you see more, you decide better. And better decisions are what separate those who react from those who stay in control. If you've made it this far, then something already shifted. Not fully, but enough to notice that the way you've been seeing people isn't complete. Most never reach this point. They hear these ideas and go back to reacting the same way. But now you won't be able to do that as easily, because once you start noticing these patterns, you begin to see them everywhere, in conversations, in silence, in the way people respond when they think no one is paying attention. And that's where things start to change. Not on the surface, but underneath it. So don't answer this out loud, just think about it. What's one situation in your life right now where you can already see one of these laws playing out? Hold on to that, because in the next video, you'll see the one pattern that connects all of this, the one that quietly controls how people gain influence without ever asking for it. And once you see it, you'll start noticing it instantly.